Hey guys, welcome back! The Windows XP days were really intense when it comes to PC gaming, and to recall those amazing years, I've just upgraded my graphics cards on my Windows XP rig. So today I bring you a few more games that I used to be addicted to and that are still worth playing today. Let's take a look. As said, I started by upgrading my good old ATI Radeon HD 2600 XT with only 256 MB for this NVIDIA GeForce 9600 GT with a mind-blowing 1 GB of dedicated RAM. As you saw in my video related to this Windows XP build, the Radeon card was quite capable of running all sorts of games from that era, but even so, I wanted to try this NVIDIA card and see if it can run stuff like Crysis. For this one I'm gonna need extra power, so a 6-pin adapter is essential. Now that the new graphics card is installed, let's hit that power button and see if this mighty pavilion boots up. Damn, how nostalgic is this! Now let's download the latest drivers for this NVIDIA card directly from their website. This is so easy and straightforward. It works like a charm. I wish I had such a setup back in the day. So let's install some of my biggest addictions from those amazing years, like for instance, Delta Force Black Hawk Down. This is simply one of my favorite military shooters ever made. Nova Logic always knew what they were doing, so back in 2003, and taking advantage of the success of recent games like Medal of Honor Light Assault, we entered the scripted missions packed with action and adrenaline, in where we could even give simple commands to the other AI-controlled soldiers by our side. The game's campaign is divided into distinct missions that can be completed in any order, unlocking new ones as we progress. We take part in the unified task force trying to maintain peace during a civil war that was destroying Somalia and annihilating its people. Multiplayer options were also present, and I recall how awesome it was to play it in LAN parties with friends, and the online allowed 50 players in a single match, something quite unique at the time. A year later, an expansion was released, Team Saber, adding 2 more single-player campaigns to the game in the South American jungle and across islands in the Persian Gulf. Still highly playable nowadays and is available at GOG.com and Steam. Just like the previous 2 installments, Crazy Taxi 3 was extremely addictive to me, mainly because I was all over the first one at the arcades and later on my friend's Dreamcast.
Go ahead and pick a car and driver.
This third one was first available for the Xbox back in 2002, and 2 years later available also for Windows. It was a throwback to those incredible years of spending money at the arcades, featuring the 2 locations from its older brothers, and also bringing a new one to the mix.
Hey, what are you doing?
Nothing more to say, it's Crazy Taxi, plain and simple. When Tomb Raider Anniversary was announced, I was thrilled to be able to play one of my favorite games from the 90s all over again, but now with improved graphics, sound and mainly gameplay. This remake came in 2007 from the hands of Crystal Dynamics, that also brought a year before Tomb Raider Legend, that helped to revive this franchise after the awful Tomb Raider The Angel of Darkness. As you know, we take control of Lara Croft through 14 levels set across 4 locations around the world. We were hired to find the Scion of Atlantis, an ancient artifact also sought by Lara's father. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, cause I believe that there are many gamers out there that haven't played this one yet, or even the original from 1997. But I can say that it is, with no doubt, an incredible adventure packed with exploration, action and unexpected situations. It was strangely the worst selling game of the whole franchise, despite being highly praised all over the press. In the comments section of my Rally Trophy review, the user Ultimate Dominion reminded me of this forgotten little gem also from Bugbear, that if you know, is the developer behind the aforementioned Rally Trophy, the FlatOut series and the recent Wreckfest. Tough Truck's Modified Monsters was released in 2003, again exclusively for Windows PCs, but now focused on dirt circuit racing instead of twisty rally tracks. I recall that I was blown away by the physics, handling and damage models that Bugbear implemented in their game. In this one, we entered the Amateur Monster Truck Racing League, testing our skills against the same obstacles and hazards that the real monster trucks face in a knockdown drag-out race for the finish line and for the top position. Doing so will earn money and other prizes to repair and upgrade our vehicle so that we can face the opposition that becomes tougher and tougher after every race. It really deserves a look. Another great racing game coming from the hands of the Finnish developer. And who hasn't played the very first Call of Duty? For this one I have to thank Kappa Games that kindly offered me this copy of the game, and it is indeed a throwback to the glory days of World War II themed video games and to the Call of Duty series. Infinity Ward was founded by former employees of 2015 Inc., responsible for another previous World War II based hit on the PC, Medal of Honor Allied Assault, and it was indeed a huge deal for me, because I've always been highly interested in this theme. I can even say that Call of Duty is the true sequel to Medal of Honor Allied Assault. This one offers 3 distinct campaigns, American, British and Soviet, and I recall that in this last campaign, the first few missions are almost identical to the scenes in the movie Enemy at the Gates. And obviously that I had to also go back and recall its sequel, Call of Duty 2, released in 2005. Soviet, British and American campaigns are again present, and I can notice the huge graphical and sound improvements since the previous title in the series, and featuring as well a ton more action happening all around us. It was also one of the most successful launch titles of the Xbox 360, and both Call of Duty games appear in the book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die, so if you haven't played them, you don't know what you're missing. As a huge fan of Micro Machines video games back from the 90s, I was always in the lookout for new entries in the series, so back in 2006, the last enjoyable title arrived in the form of Micro Machines V4. It wasn't as good as the classic ones, but it was the long-awaited sequel to Micro Machines V3 that I used to play a lot on my PS1 back in 1997. All the fun of the previous ones is included, but the poor camera view can be sometimes a bit on the annoying side. And probably the greatest challenge in this one is to collect all the 750 cars that V4 has to offer. Again, this choice is highly based on nostalgia, so if you haven't played and loved the previous games, don't bother trying this one. I don't take sides. I love experiencing all gaming related stuff. But as you know, if you follow my channel from the beginning, I'm a huge fan of PC gaming since late 80s, since I started messing around with MS-DOS based computers at school. With that said, I fell in love for the RTS style of games right when I first played Dune 2 back in 1992, and it is a genre that I've always preferred to play with a keyboard and mouse. So it was kind of inevitable that I would be addicted to games like Rise of Nations, released back in 2003, a retro game if we do the math. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those that considers that a game with 15 years or more is retro. Back in 2003, when this game was released, the world was a very different place. There was no YouTube or social media as we know it. Those were very different times. Even your phone was different. What do you think about this subject? Please share your thoughts down in the comment section below. And stepping slightly away from the RTS style, a franchise that always engaged me was Sid Meier's Civilization, a turn-based strategy series of games. Played them all, but Civ 4 is the one that I relate to the golden years of Windows XP. I'm such a huge fan of Bugbear, so it was inevitable that I would fall in love for the FlatOut series, and FlatOut 2 was bigger, better and more spectacular. But even so, I still prefer the first one, cause it's not as arcadish as its sequel. With that said, I simply wanted to try out this second entry in the series for the solo purpose of testing my rig with a new Nvidia card and witness all the glory and mayhem with maximum settings. Oh, I forgot to mention that all these games were tested with graphical settings on their maximum, with many of them not even offering the 16:10 aspect ratio and 1680x1050 native resolution offered by this specific HP screen. So as you can witness, it runs silky smooth and looks absolutely amazing. Keep in mind that all this destruction and jumping is key to success, cause it's the only way to fill up our nitro boost, so that we cross the finish line in a comfortable position that would allow us to advance to other races in the different categories available. So much fun!
It was the 23rd century, mankind's darkest hour.
Heart rate and respiration. Number. Life support online.
All we knew is that there were two sides, the Coalition and the Alliance.
This intro still blows my mind away 16 years later. It can rival with many CGI stuff being made today. I could be here all day long watching this intro again and again. Amazing stuff. And the gameplay isn't short of amazing also.
Inspiration. The Alliance launched 5 sleeper ships.
How many of you have played Freelancer?
For them to begin.
If you play games on video game consoles, the chances are that you've never even heard of this game.
Prejudices.
Sorry to say, but you're missing out on one of the best games ever made. For many of you watching, I can be this guy that just plays racing games, that talks bullshit when discussing other games outside the racing genre. Indeed, racing has always been my favorite genre since the early days of the ZX Spectrum, but I can appreciate a ton other different styles within gaming, and I've experienced a lot during these last 36 years that I've been playing video games in a ton of different formats and on different systems. And Freelancer was one of those that I played for years, since it was released back in 2003. It was indeed a true addiction for me. It really had the power to grab my attention hostage, and I would lost myself inside this huge fictitious world similar in all respects to classics like Elite and Wing Commander, being this one a third and first person space simulator and trading game, in where we play the role of Addison Trent, whose mission is to fly single-seat spacecrafts, trading with merchants on space stations and planets, and engaging in combat against other ships. Advancing in the game will eventually allow us all the freedom in the galaxy to fly around 150 planets across 40 solar systems, with the goal of gathering money to be able to buy more advanced weaponry and equipment to upgrade our ship. Another great addition was that the game was designed with a point-and-click system in mind, ditching the need of a traditional joystick so common in games of this nature. Along with Freelancer, the movies was another huge addiction for me since it was released back in 2005, a business simulation game in where we have the chance of managing and running a movie studio and consequently create movies. And as a huge movie fan, I was thrilled and extremely anxious to get my hands on this one. I would be able to run my own movie studio. How awesome was that? It came from the hands of Lionhead Studios, and guess what? It was pitched by Peter Molyneux. A year later, an expansion pack was released, adding a bunch of new features like special effects, stunts and stuntmen, just to name a few. Running a movie studio isn't as easy as it may sound. We must hire directors, actors, crew members, scriptwriters, janitors, builders and even scientists, and pay their salaries to keep them in a positive mood. On top of that, actors need special attention. They get bored and stressed really easy, depending on how many movies we make them work in, and they can get drunk or start eating like if there was no tomorrow. We must provide actors with a good quality trailer for them to rest and a paycheck that mirrors their success.
Your movie is now.
I could be here all day and night discussing all aspects of the movies, but I'll leave that for another time and to another video. It's a true time-consuming game, but everything is straightforward and simple to operate and understand. In a minute you're making black and white movies with no sound back in the 1920s, and later on you'll be dealing with digital sound and CGI effects in the modern era. Incredible! Now the question is, does it run Crysis? Yes, it does, but for a smoother experience I opted for medium settings for the graphics. It really is a demanding game, and it set the standard of things to come, being one of the first titles to take advantage of DirectX 10 present in Windows Vista, available also in 2007, a few months before the game was released. I've never played this game too much. By the time it was released, I didn't have a PC that could run it decently, and as years went by, my interest for the game simply vanished. I have it on my GOG collection, and who knows, maybe one day I'll get back to it and play it just like it was meant to be played when it was originally released back in November of 2007. It's amazing how many games released during the Windows XP lifespan we can pack into a 120GB hard drive. Incredible! I just need now to improve the booting time into the OS. Gonna see if I can grab a cheap SSD solution just for Windows and all necessary apps, turning it into the XP gaming rig I've always dreamed about back in the day and simply couldn't afford. So guys, hope you've enjoyed this episode of It's a Pixel Thing, and if you did, don't forget to smash that like button, to subscribe to the channel, to click on the bell icon so that you're notified when all my new videos become available, and to leave your comment with your own thoughts and experiences with these games and with Windows XP in general. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Cheers!